everyone, I'm Renee and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share a recipe for a sweet treat with you. I'll show you my base recipe for a vanilla macaron as well as how to make a chocolate macaron. They're not just cute to look at, they're also delicious, so let's get started. So the French macaron is a popular little cookie that's been trendy for a few years now and it's not going anywhere. They have a reputation for being a little bit difficult to make, but it's actually a very simple recipe in just a few simple steps, so I'm going to walk you through it. This recipe comes together very quickly, so you want to make sure all of your ingredients are measured out ahead of time. I'll start by combining the dry ingredients. So I'm going to measure 150 grams of almond flour or almond meal, and you want to make sure that is very finely ground. If you need to, you can put it in the food processor and buzz that for a few minutes to make sure that you have a very fine powder. And then you're going to sift that to make sure that all of the larger lumps are removed. After sifting your almond meal, if you end up with about a tablespoon or less of larger chunks, you can go ahead and just discard that. It won't affect the recipe. If you have more than a tablespoon, you're going to want to add a little bit extra so that you can make up that measurement. Then you're going to sift in 200 grams of powdered sugar, and whisk those ingredients to combine them, and they should be nice and light and airy. If you're making the chocolate version of the macaron, the only change is you're going to add 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder in addition to the other dry ingredients. Just sift that in and whisk it together with the powdered sugar and almond meal to make sure you have a fully combined mixture. Now I'll set that aside and I can work on my egg whites. We need 120 grams of aged egg whites. That means you're going to separate your egg whites from your egg yolks, preferably the day before you're going to make them, but at least 4 to 6 hours ahead of time, and you want these to be at room temperature. Put them in the bowl of a mixer and you're gonna mix on about medium speed until they start to become frothy. And at that point, you're going to slowly add in 40 grams of granulated sugar, as well as half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now is also the time to color your macarons if you wish to do so. I recommend using a concentrated powdered food color so you don't add a lot of extra liquid to your macaron batter, but you could also use gel color. For my vanilla macarons, I'm using this bright pink, and this is a powdered food color that I got from Global Sugar Art. I will have that linked down below. Then mix on medium-high to high speed until nice stiff peaks form. Be sure not to over whip your egg whites or else they'll be too dry for the recipe. You're looking for a nice glossy meringue with peaks that stand up when you pull the whisk out. Then in that same mixing bowl, I just push the meringue to the side and then I add my dry ingredients to the other side, making sure that I don't just dump them on top of the meringue, which will deflate the egg whites. Now start folding the dry ingredients into the egg whites. And once all the dry ingredients are mixed in, then we're going to start a stage called macaronage. And that's where the macarons get their name from. So all you do is, as you fold, you're going to use your spatula to spread the batter against the side of the bowl. And this is slowly going to start to deflate the meringue. And you'll see the batter becomes a little bit looser and runnier. But you want to control how runny you make it. The more you mix it, the looser it's going to get. If you're just starting out, it might be helpful to count your strokes. And you'll want to count for about 50 strokes to get the right consistency. The right consistency is called lava-like consistency, and so that means when you pull your spatula up, it's slowly going to drip off of the spatula and fall back into the bowl, and when it falls into the bowl, it should stand up on the batter in there for about 20 to 30 seconds before it kind of melts back in. If you're unsure, it's better to slightly undermix the batter than to overmix it. I'm going to pipe these macarons with a large round tip in a disposable piping bag. This is a 1A by Wilton. And I find it easier to work with just half the batter at a time. So I'm going to put half the batter into a different disposable piping bag, snip off the end, and then put that into the bag with the tip so that I can just switch it out when I need to replace my batter. We're going to pipe these out onto a parchment lined cookie sheet, and you use a little bit of the batter to attach the parchment to the cookie sheet. Then pipe out 1 to 1.5 inch circles, making sure that you leave about an inch between each one. Once all of the macaron shells are piped out, you're going to wrap the cookie sheet very hard on the countertop a couple of times, rotate it, and wrap again several more times until you've made it all the way around. This is going to bring any air bubbles to the surface and hopefully burst them. But if it doesn't burst all the bubbles, you can take a little toothpick and go around and make sure that they're all popped and the surface is nicely healed. This is going to keep the macarons from bursting or cracking in the oven. If you want to decorate your macarons with a little bit of sprinkles or something like sanding sugar, now's the time to sprinkle a little bit right on top, right after they've been piped out and before the skin has formed. This way they'll stick. Now we need to let these rest for about 30 minutes to an hour, and we're looking for a skin to form. While those are resting, I'm going to preheat my oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit so I know that it's perfectly at temperature by the time we're ready to bake. You'll know the macarons are ready to bake when you touch the surface. You can feel that skin has formed and they're not sticky anymore. Then we'll bake them one tray at a time for about 13 to 15 minutes. You want to keep an eye on them. They shouldn't brown much, if at all, but they'll get these nice crumbly looking feet at the bottom, which is a trademark of the macaron. You can test them by trying to wiggle the top of it, and if it doesn't wiggle, they're ready. Take the macarons out of the oven and let them cool completely on the cookie sheet on the parchment. And once they're cool, a properly cooked macaron should lift very easily from the parchment. If you're unsure if they've baked long enough, it's better to err on the side of slightly over baking them for a minute or so than to underbake them. Even if you get a little bit of that browning, if they're underbaked, they're never going to release from the cookie sheet. And that's a basic recipe for a vanilla or chocolate macaron shell, and really where these cookies get their flavor from is the filling, and the possibilities are virtually endless. A very common filling is buttercream. I'll have both my American style buttercream and Swiss meringue buttercream recipes listed down below for you if you're interested. You're going to look for 2 macaron shells that are roughly the same size and shape. For my vanilla macarons, I'm using my American buttercream, and I'll just pipe a large mound of that in the top of one side of the shell. Then gently push and twist them together to push the buttercream to the edge of the cookie. And to make these a little bit cute, because Valentine's Day is coming up, I'm going to roll the edge of the buttercream in some small red and pink sprinkles, and I think it adds a very cute touch. For my chocolate macarons, I'm going to fill them with a little bit of Nutella. I'm using a little bit less than I did of the buttercream because it is a softer filling, but these are really delicious. And that's it! These macarons are so delicious and with only a few ingredients pretty easy to make. I use buttercream and Nutella as my fillings, but you could also use jams, jellies, curds, virtually anything you want. If it's a looser filling, you might just want to pipe a dam of buttercream around the outside so that loose filling doesn't ooze out. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I am so excited to announce the launch of my Patreon page. I'll have a link below in the description for you, or you can just go to patreon.com/Renee Connor. Once there, you can become a patron of my channel. It's a great way to support my channel and help me be able to continue to make great content. And as a patron, you get access to special patron-only perks, like early access to videos, printables of recipe and templates, and a couple of other perks. I sincerely appreciate any support you can give, and if you're unable to pledge to become a patron of my channel, I always appreciate you just watching my video, and you can support me by commenting, liking, and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss new videos, and if you want a notification every time I upload, be sure to hit the bell icon to turn on post notifications. If you liked this video, here are a couple of my other videos I think you might enjoy.